Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. Welcome back to another live show, and I don't have my green screen on today because I'm upgrading the green screen lighting. So right now I've got one of the God-Ox LED light panels in front of me, but I don't have the other two yet because of the pandemic. Shipping's a little bit slow, and I mean you know how all that goes. I mean everything's kind of delayed right now because of the pandemic, but I got a few updates for everyone, and we'll jump right into the video status. So I've still got a Mavic Air 2 noise test. I want to test the noise of the Mavic Air 2 so y'all can hear that really well. Today I was able to do a Mavic Air 2 hover and then go left and right in tripod mode. Mr. Sinister had indicated that with the most current Mavic Air 2 firmware that he found that was a little bit jerky. So I've tested that, and I've got that video in the works. It should be uploading soon. Other videos that I've got a 240 frames per second slow motion. I've also got an 8K hyperlapse, and I filmed that and edited that today, and I'll be posting it soon. But I'll go ahead and say the hyperlapse feature, and I don't know what y'all's thoughts are about hyperlapse with the Mavic Air 2, but I mean, honestly, man, I was underwhelmed because I had to go through all of these steps, had to click all these buttons, set all these parameters. I mean, not that it was a huge deal, but it's like I had to do all of that just to capture a hyperlapse. It just felt like a lot of effort, in comparison to simply using 4K 30 HDR continuous video. It just seemed like a lot more effort than it was worth. So I mean, I don't know, y'all tell me. I mean, why is hyperlapse such a good thing? And how do you use hyperlapse? Because maybe there's something I'm missing here. Let's see, what else do we have? We've got other videos that are in the works. Let me see, I'm pulling open my cut sheet here. Welcome aboard, everyone. Obviously, this is a live show. If you're watching it at approximately 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:40 p.m. New York City time, then this is a live show. So comment, ask questions, do whatever you want to do, and we'll interact here. So yeah, so I've got those videos. Also, a still photos comparison. One of the field tests that I owe everyone is taking the Mavic Air 2 and then also taking the Sony A7R4, snapping some still photos and comparing those still photos. I know that's kind of a ridiculous comparison, but it will be a cool comparison. So I still got that in the to-do list. Also, to put a strobe light on the drone. That was another request, a strobe light on the Mavic Air 2, so I haven't gotten around to that yet. Someone was mentioning yesterday, and I'm looking forward to it, they were saying something about a wetsuit of sorts for the Mavic Air 2, some sort of skin that may, potentially enhance the water resistance properties of the Mavic Air 2. So I'm excited about that. That's more of a curiosity. So, if you can send me the link, I forget, you mentioned it during a live show yesterday, but I was walking and I wasn't in the studio where I had my notepad. So, but it was some sort of wetsuit for the Mavic Air 2. So that to me, that sounds cool. Immediately what comes into mind is, anything that, whether it's a sticker or, any sort of wrap that goes around something, often, that could negatively impact the thermal properties of the device. In this case, a Mavic Air 2. So, it makes me wonder, do they have it vented to where, the heat can escape or whatever? So, but nevertheless, something I'm, highly curious about. So yeah, Mavic Air 2 it's been fun to be in the field. And again, everybody just tuning in now, I want to remind everyone I'm kind of in an interim state right now. I've got my key light, but I don't have all the other light, and I don't have my green screen lit. So you can see my green screen, you got shadows. I mean, that looks awful. But I'm upgrading the studio as I promised that I would. I'm upgrading the studio, and I'm putting in they're called God-Ox. I know it's a crazy name, but they're God-Ox lights. And these lights are LED panels. So unlike a softbox where you've got that big, bulky, fabric type, not fabric, but soft type material, kind of like an umbrella, where you've got that. Instead of that, you've got this. And I'll pop out my studio camera here in a second and show you around, but it's basically, and you can check out my unboxing video, the Godox, Godox, but it's basically like a laptop monitor as far as design and form factor is concerned. But the beauty of it is that it's not a monitor, it's an LED light panel. So what you're able to do, and again, right now I've only got one, so I've got the others coming. The other Godoxes are coming. They're not here yet. But what's going to be awesome about that is that it'll be less space, and by using multiple Godox panels, what I'm able to do is synchronize the brightness. I'm able to synchronize the color temperature. So it's going to be a really cool upgrade for the channel. Lighting is so important for video. And I mean, right now this lighting's bad because you got light coming on the side of my face, but I don't have all the other stuff properly lit. And that's the thing about video, is that lighting is super important, video quality is super important, audio quality is super important. But when you've got lighting that's affordable and lighting that's able to be synced with the other lights, so multiple lights of a kind, then what you're able to do is achieve very professional results, because you've got the same brightness, you've got the same color temperature. You're not having to tune a physical knob. You've got a controller, and you can put these in groups, and you can say, okay, group 1, I want you to be this brightness, and I want you to be this color temperature. And group 2, in my case, group 2 will be the green screen. Okay, I want you to be this color temperature and this brightness. So it's going to be really cool. I'm always on this channel. I'm always here to learn and and share those lessons learned with others. So one of the cool things, and you can see I've got my lavalier mic, and typically I have my my wireless mic on my shirt, but it's in my pocket. So I've got the lavalier plugged into it. One of the things that was cool, and a viewer came to my channel actually this week, and the viewer was, and I don't know, maybe they were taunting me, maybe they weren't, but it was more of a, hey man, have you ever used, and I'm paraphrasing this, but have you ever used a lavalier style microphone before? And I'm like, yeah, actually I have. I use lavaliers quite a bit when I'm doing professional shoots and this, that, and the other. But it turns out, whether their remarks were snarky or whether their remarks were were intended to be informative, I took it as informative, because basically what they shared is that when you're hooking up these lavaliers, what you want to do is take off the windscreen, slide that little doohickey down in there, and then put the windscreen back on. What I was doing is attaching it while the windscreen was already on, and it worked. And I kept it off my shirt or tie or suit or whatever, no problems. But they shared with me an improved way to mount, or to attach rather, a lavalier microphone to a lavalier clip style mount. So that was cool. I mean, you learn something every day. I don't, again, on this channel, I don't claim to be an expert with everything, because I'm not. But I appreciate feedback, and I mean, that's the beauty of YouTube. I mean, you can post a video, and there's going to be positive comments, there's going to be negative comments, there's going to be comments that may have tended to be negative in nature, but actually are positive because they're telling you something. So now you can see my lavalier mic. I don't know how well you can see it because I don't have my lighting tweaked yet, but basically it's off my shirt. And if I was wearing a tie or a suit, it would be ultra professional. I mean, obviously I'm just wearing IrixGuy's Adventure Channel t-shirt, and you can find these. Go to Amazon.com, search for IrixGuy's Adventure Channel, or just head on over to IrixGuy.com and go to my merch store, or you can, and it should be, actually I've got it pinned. Yeah, I've got it pinned within this chat session. You can see my t-shirts. It should be pinned at the top of the chat for this live show. So, yeah, I just wanted to get with everyone. It's, these in-studio shows are good, and I tell you, and hopefully my lights will be here within a few days. I mean, with the pandemic situation, it's hard to know when stuff will arrive, but this is going to be, I'm super excited because it's going to be perfectly lit, because the green screen is going to be illuminated. I'm going to be perfectly lit. and then hopefully everything will just be on point. And and that's an objective that I've been driving towards since I created this YouTube channel. But again, I haven't let the quality, both the video and the audio quality, I haven't let the quality interfere with the pace of the channel, because what's ultimately most important for me is learning as I go, improving as budget allows. And speaking of that, anytime people choose to super chat, that's a great way to support the channel. You can super chat during the live shows. You can choose to shop my links, expand my videos description and then click the links there, or just head on over to IrixGuy.com or EpicDroneShow.com and shop there. Those are all ways to support the channel. And then there's obviously Patreon, patreon.com/IrixGuy, where you can choose to pledge, a small amount every month, and that helps the channel as well. So, it's one of these things. My long-term goal with this channel is obviously to create something that will be extremely large. I'm not here to create mediocre successes. That's never been my thing. Mediocre is a word that does not exist in my vocabulary, because when I see something, even if it may be perceived by others as great, my objective is always, okay, well, maybe that's great, but how can I make it better? There's always opportunity. There are always opportunities for improvement. With that being said, certain people can become ultra concerned with making it better. And if you become too wrapped up with making things better, and you don't enjoy what you've created, the greatness that you may have already created, then that's a problem. But another problem would be, if you think what you've created is great and you don't have any desire to improve, it'll fizzle out. So, you gotta, with any sort of business, with any sort of journey, you need to be smart about how you look at it, and be smart about how you path yourself or path your company to hit, to achieve the next milestone. So, there's a lot to it, but it's really interesting. And I tell you, this lighting, just small things, and this lighting right now is not good because I don't have all my lights installed yet. They're still in a boat somewhere, or an airplane, or stuck in the back of a warehouse, and somebody's not doing their job and they're dragging their feet. So, whatever the case may be, as soon as they get here, this lighting's going to be really amplified. So, I'm excited about that. I had as being an independent YouTube channel, you kind of work with what you got. So I had a variety of different lights, and they were pretty good. They weren't great. The key lights were, the green screen lights were, they were pretty good. They didn't flicker. They seemed to be color matched, the two of them. But then I had my key light, which was a different type. And the beauty of this is that once I get all the Godox lights will be color matched. The brightness and then also the color temperature will all be matched. So that's going to be a major improvement. And the best part about it is that when these new Godox lights come in, the other value it's going to provide is, again, I'll be able to synchronize among all 3 or 4. I may add a 4th one. I may actually add 2 key lights, because right now I've got 1. I may find that I need to add 2. So, whatever the case may be, the color is going to be great, and any of the background color. And something I've done in my studio, and I did this a while back, I installed a blackout curtain. And basically what that does is blocks out the outside light. And that's super important, because anytime you've got a studio and you've got light creeping in from the outside, it can really make your video quality look wonky. And speaking of that, what I need to do? I need to do a video review of those blackout curtains. So let me go ahead and add that to my to-do list. But yeah, that was something I did. That way I can control the quality of the light in the studio. and then the only light that, that is in the viewer's view, what you're seeing, is the artificial light that I add. And again, adding artificial light that's properly color matched, and that the brightness levels is properly balanced as well. So, a lot of interesting stuff there. So, I got a lot of people tuning in. What's everybody up to this evening? Again, it's approximately 7:52 p.m. New York City time, Eastern time. It's a live show. We talk about whatever. Obviously my ask, as always, is to keep everything clean and appropriate for all age groups. There's nothing political should be discussed on here. Nothing of potentially offensive content should be discussed on here. It's clean for all age groups. So with that being said, let's see, what do we have here? I don't really have a formal agenda for this show. To be perfectly frank with you, what I wanted to do is just power this up without having my green screen lights yet. Power this up and just see how this, and I'm looking at my little field monitor here. See what's awesome about that, I can look directly at that light, and you can't see it in this video. I'll, check out my Godox, Godox video, and you can see what this looks like. But what's cool is that I can look directly at that light just like I would a softbox light, and it doesn't blind me. But the beauty of it is I don't have the huge softbox there, taking up space in my small studio. I've only got something about that thick, about as thick as a laptop monitor. So, well, I shouldn't say laptop monitor. I should say, old school laptop monitor, new school desktop monitor. So, yeah, that's... Oh, welcome aboard. Who we got? We got more people tuning in here. Welcome to a live show. Welcome aboard. Let's see. We got a quiet crew tonight. It's funny, when I do the studio, I like to do the just kind of walking around shows. And the interesting thing is, a lot of times when I'm just doing those walking around shows, it seems like I have a more vocal audience on that as opposed to in the studio. I'm in the studio right now. I'm in the fancy place. So we've got a really quiet crowd tonight. Like super quiet, scary quiet. So that's, if you're here, go ahead and type a comment. Don't be afraid. This is a live show. Yeah, this is, wow, yeah, it is a super duper quiet crowd tonight. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly acceptable to just sit back and watch. And but it's more fun when everybody comments. Because normally on these live shows, we've got comment after comment, and this is super quiet. So, but then again, it is a Sunday evening. Typically, I like to do these on a Saturday or a Friday or both. And Sunday just seems to be kind of trying to get that. There we go. I got kind of fat because I'm doing the pandemic thing. I can't go to a gym. Are you into hi-fi? Oh, the hippie drone. Welcome aboard, man. Now, when you're saying hi-fi, are you talking about and this is going to sound really dumb, but I'll admit that it sounds really dumb. Is hi-fi, is that high fidelity audio? Or is that, define hi-fi for me. Sorry, I know that's a really stupid question. Always love questions. Yeah, because that's, let's see, hi-fi. Oh, how-to like tutorial videos. High-end stereo systems. Honestly, man, I love good audio, and for my use case, quality audio is, it's basically what I use in the studio. So my computer monitors, when I'm doing my editing computer, and again, this is not high-end at all, but when I'm doing my video edits, I've got a, and anybody that's into high-end audio will laugh at this, but I've got a little Bluetooth, it's a Bluetooth speaker. It's called the Beats. It's called the Pill by Dre. Beats by Dr. Dre Pill. It's a Bluetooth speaker. Actually, it sounds good for my purposes for editing video. So, I know that's not high-end, but, and then in my studio, and this isn't high-end either, I've got a Vizio Sound Bar with a wireless subwoofer, which is not high-end at all. It's a little bit over $100 US. So, yeah, that's not high-end. And then I have a 5.1 surround system, which is actually decent. It's definitely not high-end, but it's Onkyo, O-N-K-Y-O, and that actually sounds really good. My biggest thing with audio is I watch movies. I don't watch a ton of movies. Oh, and speaking of that, and this is kind of on the higher end scale, I do use 2 Amazon Echo Studios. And those 2 Amazon Echo Studios, they support Dolby Atmos. And I know it's probably not the true Dolby Atmos, because with that, you've got a proper home theater and you've got the multiple speakers. But I've been very impressed with the Amazon Echo Studio. I've got the 2 Echo Studios, and then I've got the 1 Amazon Echo Sub, and it sounds really good for a budget home theater system for a small room. So I've enjoyed that. I would love to, and that's very cool, man. The Hippie Drone says, "Well, just wondering, I make speakers for a living." That's actually really cool, because I know, and you're the speaker guru, and at one point in time I was a computer guru. Computers have changed a lot now. I've switched to Mac for video editing and photo editing, but I used to build computers back when PCs were in their heyday, back before Dell computers existed, back before Gateway computers existed, way back when. Actually, back before the internet existed. I was big into building computers, so I know that when you're an expert and you're building these things, in your case speakers, you know this inside and out, and respectfully, and I wouldn't expect anything else. The speakers that I just mentioned, I would expect you to laugh at that, which is perfectly fine. But, with that being said, I think there's, like you're saying, you make speakers for a living. I think that quality audio, not just quality audio, but outstanding audio is a must for anybody that's serious, when it comes to video. And something I need to upgrade are the speakers, my computer speakers. Because although my little Beats by Dr. Dre Pill or whatever, just an inexpensive Bluetooth speaker, even though it sounds better than what's built into the laptop, when you're editing videos, something that any video editor should be aware of is, how should this sound for the viewer? And the viewer being, the lowest common denominator, a viewer with a speaker on a smartphone, or a viewer that doesn't even have external speakers for their $50 LCD TV. They're using the speakers built into the LCD TV. I think it's important from from a video content creator's perspective to be able to review that video on a variety of different speakers. And the challenge I have is that I have the low end. I've got the built-in speaker to a TV. I've got the budget end. I've got the Vizio, which is a lower tier brand, the Vizio Sound Bar with wireless subwoofer, which sounds better, but it's not great. And then I've got what is my high end, which is the Amazon Echo Studio with sub. So I try to, when I publish videos, especially videos that I care about the audio, like a really good drone flight or something, and I want people to be able to experience quality audio, I test that throughout all of the different tiers of speakers that I have to see how it sounds on all the devices. The Hippie Drone says, get the KEF wireless speakers. You will love them. Let me look this up here, man. KEF. that is greatly appreciated, because, you know, I'm working to improve, you know, obviously the audio quality of the live streams. You know, I'm using Rode microphones, which I found are very I mean, they're not super expensive, but they seem to have a very high-end sound. Oh, Kef, very cool, man. Which so for someone editing videos, what's a KEF speaker model? LSX. Let's see, KEF LSX. Let me look that up. KEF LSX. Yeah, you got me in Christmas shopping mode. KEF LXX. Oh, they look cool, man. Let's see, KEF. Admittedly, this is the first time I've heard of KEF, and I'm looking at the, so you don't need to use, so with the LSX, you don't need to use a subwoofer, do you? Is that necessary to use a sub, or do you just use the, I mean, it looks like the speakers, looking at the back of them, it looks like they may have some pretty decent bass already. KEF, interesting. Yeah, those, I mean, definitely expensive. I mean, definitely a tier above, several tiers above where I am right now. But, you know, that's the beauty of this. You know, you can constantly improve. And one of the things on the, you can check out my older video for this. One of the things I did in the studio is I installed these acoustic panels. And, you know, it was tough when I was shopping for acoustic panels. It was tough to say, okay, I'm going to go with these when I can buy, you know, let's just insert a, the Hippie Drone says they can have a subwoofer, but they don't need it. Very cool. That is an action item for my Christmas list, because people are always asking, you know, what do you want? And because I mean, admittedly, I pretty much, because of the channel, you know, I pretty much buy all kinds of stuff and, you know, to review and stuff, but that would be something that I would buy to use and keep, and you know, and really use for the long haul. So, but yeah, these sound panels in here, they were very. It was a tough sell for myself, because I was like, you know, I can go on Amazon, I can get, which is basically glorified eggshell mattress material. You've seen it. It's the little ridges, and you know, you go in any cheap. You know, production studio, and you see that they've got the little eggshell mattress type stuff, and in most cases it may actually be an eggshell mattress on the wall, but it was tough to convince myself to pay per panel what I could potentially fill the whole room with for the same price. But I'm glad I did, because now this studio looks super professional. The sound quality in this studio, in my mind, is super professional. There's a little bit of an echo, just a slight echo in here, but it's nothing anywhere like it was. I've still got a few panels I need to install. I can't do the green screen behind me, obviously, because it's the green screen, but the wall in front of me, the wall that's slanted, I can put some acoustic panels on it. The Hippie Drone says for Christmas, KEF LS. Let me look that one up. KEF LS. So are these the speakers you make, or are they a different brand? You said you make speakers. KEF LS50W powered music system wireless speakers. Very nice. Whoa, super nice. Come in a variety of different colors. Wow, it's even got, is that a network port? Is that a network port? Yes, it is a network port. It's got optical audio, PC, USB, it looks like. So let me ask you this: how do your custom speakers compare to the KEF? Or I guess I'm pronouncing that correctly. KEF, Yeah, those are wicked cool, man. I guess those pretty much put those speakers probably put like a Harman Kardon or a Bose to shame, don't they? Now, can you order your custom speakers online, or do you just do, how does that work? So, if you don't mind me asking, are you doing custom speakers for, are you doing it for residential, commercial, combination of both? You know, what's your, I mean, again, if you don't mind me asking, what's your target audience for the speakers that you make? That's the cool thing about this channel, man. Everything, you know, we start getting a conversation going, and it's, you know, every live show is a different adventure. I mean, we're talking about professional speakers. I mean, the first time ever on this show, on IrixGuy's live show, that we've talked about professional speakers, which is awesome. Audio quality makes a difference. I mean, audio and video quality are equally important. The Hippie Drone says audiophile speakers, home hi-fi. So, and I mean, don't feel obligated to do it unless you want to, but I mean, obviously feel free to share. If you've got a website, if you want to mention that website on this live show, that's perfectly acceptable, man. I mean, I really, I mean, I don't care. I mean, that's super cool. Yeah, it would be cool to have, I think the next thing I want to do, and I've got a professional Rode mic that I put on a mic stand, but I stopped using that because then I got that silly mic stand in front of me when you're watching the camera. So I switched to the, you know, I'm using the Rode lavalier right now, which I've enjoyed it, but it's, yeah, audio is an interesting animal, both audio and video. I mean, there's so much. It's one of those things, you know, you get something, you think you've got it almost perfected, and then it's like, just like with these studio lights, you know, it's like, well, I've only got one light right now because I've got the other two or other three coming. But it's like you think you've got everything perfected, and then you play with it for a while, and then you realize, you know what, there's better tech out there that's still affordable, and, you know, I can increase my production quality by X percentage if I choose to, you know, choose to upgrade to whatever else. And you know, in my case, it's the God Ox LED light. I mean, these things are, I know it sounds stupid. It's just a light, right? You look at it, it's like, man, that is so stupid. How could someone become so excited by, you know, by looking at a light? But when you look at all the technological advancements, I mean, you know, traditionally, studio lights were a bulb that would become hot. It had a short lifespan. It had a short lifespan rather, and it would, you know, it often create an odor when you turned it on. You could smell kind of a burning smell. And then LEDs became prevalent, but there were low quality LEDs, there were higher quality LEDs, and like most any technology, you know, as it's been out for a while, it's improved, and the improvements often result in lower prices. You know, you can, I mean, now I can get, these panels are greatly superior to what I was using before. I wasn't using panels, I was just using LED lights, which LEDs were a major upgrade from my incandescent style studio lights. And it's just, I mean, it's interesting, you know, every industry, whether it's audio, whether it's video, whether it's computers, every industry is constantly evolving. And, you know, with those improvements, you know, we, being consumers, we get the opportunity to purchase better tech, and that better tech is often less expensive, you know, because when stuff's been out for a while, production costs go down, and component costs go down. The Hippie Drone says, so Hippie Drone, if you need custom speakers, professional audiophile speakers, the Hippie Drone says he is Wildwood Acoustics. So if you Google Wildwood Acoustics, I'm going to Google that right now. I like that name. There's, let's see, Wildwood. Let's see, Wildwood Acoustics. I found Wildwood Guitars, but I'm thinking that's a different. So I found wildwoodmusic.com, wildwoodguitars.com. Hippie Drone says, new site being made is we are having a new workshop made. Cool. Tech is my addiction. Yeah, technology, man, is super cool. I'm in the same boat, and that's, that explains the fascination with drones as well. It's one of those things. It's never. I guess they would say greenfield. Greenfield is just a current and hip way of saying, it never gets old. Technology is a greenfield arena. I mean, there's always. Yeah, there's probably always going to be a newer and better iPhone. As far as we know, iPhone may be discontinued and there may be something better and greater, but when that comes out, there'll probably be better and greater tiers of it. Same with audio, same with video, same with computers. I mean, I remember building computers. I started building computers with the 286. That's how old I am, man. I was building 286 computers, and I built 386s. Then I built 486, and one of my first Linux servers was one that I built. It was a 486 SX33 with I think it was a 540 meg hard drive. I mean, it's crazy how the technology has changed, and it's, we're seeing, even though things are improving, if you track back, you can often see where most any tech originated. And that's the fascinating part about it. I mean, often tech will go in multiple concurrent directions. I mean, there's maybe multiple vendors, and in their interpretation of what is the next level for whatever piece of technology is this. Vendor number 2 may be this. Vendor number 3 may be that. And it's just the Tech Drone said I had a Olivetti. What's an Olivetti 386? I'm not familiar with the term Olivetti. Olivetti, that sounds cool. Sounds Italian. Yeah, I remember Gateway. What's funny, Gateway 2000, man. See, I used to be in the computer retail business. I ran my own computer retail shop. So what I would do is build computers, and this was before Gateway 2000 with the Cal boxes, the white and black boxes, before they came to the playing field, and before Best Buy came to the playing field, and before Office Depots and all that were prevalent. And it was interesting because, when all of these big players started manufacturing PCs, then as an independent like myself that's building computers and selling computers at a discount, being able to still turn a nice profit and undercut the big boxes. Well, not the big boxes. I mean, Gateway was its own brand. Dell was its own brand. But the problem I ran into, and this sounds really stupid, but the problem I ran into with computer retail and turning sizable profits was, I don't know if you remember, there was a company called E-Machines. E-Machines was just a little, I think they had at the time, I think it was the Celeruns and the whatever. and nothing against the E-Machines brand, but E-Machines was the brand that was in, Best Buy, it was in the Sam's Clubs, it was in all the, the big box retailers. And it was a brand that people were like, well, why should I buy this computer from you when I can get this E-Machines for, X $100 or whatever? And, politely I would have to explain, yes, you can get that there, but here's why the one I build is better and better and better. And the problem I ran into is that the enthusiasts, the power users, they understood that, that what I was offering was a superior system. And it was, that was fine. 20-second delay, I'll have to check into that, man. I'll have to check the settings. The power users realized that the computers that I was building and selling were a very high, were a superior product. But I had to continue to play, and again, sales was not my strong suit. I was a tech, I was a system builder, I was a troubleshooter, and with all of that being said, it became for your average Joe, for your average Jane that's looking for a computer, it became a very tough sell, because why are they going to buy from some local computer shop when they can go to the big box retailer, spend less? It became a very tough sell. I was still very profitable. I still had a large customer base that respected me, and I was able to sell custom builds, and I was able to provide support. I was able to sell training services, this, that, and the other. But it got to the point to where it was more of I realized there were greener pastures out there, that I was investing so much time, so much energy in trying to convince people that, that a custom built computer that I created was better than why it was better value than an E-Machines or comparably priced computer. So it was one of those things, sometimes in business, one should realize that, it's great, and there's a lot of pride with running your own show. There's a lot of pride with selling your own products. But unless you've got the seed money to really invest and create a next tier brand, like a Dell or a whatever, unless you've got that kind of startup capital, you probably need to look at it and say, you know what? There's other opportunities out there. There's other ways professionally that I can make more money, and then I don't have to go through this sales dance. And again, there's people that are really good at sales. The problem is you'll find a lot of people that are very good at sales. You'll find a lot of people that are very good with tech. But often what you don't find are people that are equally strong with their technical abilities and also their sales abilities. And in my case, I've always been stronger with tech than I have been sales. The Hippie Drone says, I always build my own these days. You get so much more for the money than buying a Dell. Yeah, and what's funny, you still do. And I haven't built a PC recently because admittedly, and this sounds bad, but I switched to Mac just because I like it for photo and video, and it's a Unix operating system. That's the only reason. I would run Linux if I could on a custom built computer, but I just don't have the software options for my video editing on Linux that I do on Mac OS. So that's why I made the switch to Mac. But no, you're exactly right. You get so much more if you build it on your own. But what's funny though, today, in comparison, and when I'm saying today and in the past, I'm talking about back in the late 90s, early 2000s. In the late 90s, the early 2000s, you really got a lot more when you built it yourself. And part of that was linked to, computers at the time, you had to deal with IRQs, DMAs, the jumpers. I'm talking about pre-plug and play computers, back before remember when the modems came out, the 33.6 and they had the 56K. That was actually back in the 90s probably. But when those were out, before they had the plug and play, and you had to deal with the jumpers and the IRQs and the DMAs and all of that troubleshooting, that was back before your average Jane or Joe could pick up a computer and say, hey, I'm going to make it work. And yeah, those were definitely, the fun days. Hippie Drone's got it right. He says PC for gaming, Mac for editing. You're right, man. You're right. That's exactly right. I mean, admittedly, I used to game a lot. I did EverQuest very heavily, EverQuest 1 and EverQuest 2. And after that, I just decided, you know what? As much time and energy that I put into playing a game, it's like, there's things I can do. I can gamify video capture, video creation, video editing. And that's what became the YouTube game. I'm like, you know what? I can still tinker with computers and have a hobby to relax, but a hobby that, that pays me as well. So, that's the beauty of YouTube. But yeah, I don't even have a PC now, man. I mean, if I still played games, I would. You're right. PC's got to be used for games, but since I don't, I'm Mac only. I've got one Mac right now. I'm thinking, now tomorrow, the 22nd, is Apple's WWDC, and strong rumors suggest that there's going to be a new iMac unveiled, a new iMac released, or not necessarily released, but a new iMac announced at WWDC. And super excited about that. David Drone says, have you found anything that will play 8K hyperlapse for the Mavic? I can only get it working on Premiere. Great question, man. I did the hyperlapse with the Mavic Air 2 in the field today. And we need to chat about that in an upcoming live show, because I've got the video. I'm going to upload it. I want you to see, you to share what your thoughts are about the video. Honestly, man, I wasn't impressed. I mean, I had to stand there forever. I did the circle mode as a test, stood there forever, and then I got a video, and the video that it created, the hyperlapse, the quality was mediocre at best. And and maybe I'm missing something. When you did the 8K, after you selected hyperlapse, did you have to go in and define some additional settings to get 8K, or did it do 8K by default? Because mine looked like, I'll be frank, it didn't look like garbage, but it didn't look like, oh, well, this is hyperlapse. Why didn't I just, my thoughts, my takeaway from it was, why don't I just film in 4K 30 with HDR, 4K 30 high dynamic range? Why do I want to go through this hyperlapse dance and try to get a cool looking video from a hyperlapse? Why don't I just use 4K 30 continuous HDR? So what'd you have to do to set it to 8K? Everybody tuning in, we're talking about hyperlapse on the Mavic Air 2. Okay, so I need to do that because mine, and you'll see it in a video, I filmed it, I've edited it, and it's uploaded to YouTube. I wait a little bit before I publish a YouTube video because it processes on YouTube's end, and I want it to be the best quality. But when you see my hyperlapse, man, you're probably going to laugh because it looks like, in my opinion, it looks like garbage. I did not enjoy it at all. So, but yeah, I'll be uploading that. You know what? I may even publish it tonight. No, I probably won't publish it tonight. I'll probably publish it tomorrow. Had to go in settings. He says the video is better, to be honest. Yeah, and what's funny about hyperlapse is just sitting there snapping a bunch of images, which, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to try it again, man, now that you've said that, going into settings and change it to 8K, because mine was, I just used the defaults, and it looked like, it just did not look good, in my opinion. So, and again, I love the Mavic Air 2. The Mavic Air 2 is my favorite drone on the market today. But, with that being said, I'm very, I don't filter my comments on this channel. If I like something, I'll tell you I like it. If I don't, I'll tell you I don't. The Hippie Drone says, what version of Premiere are you using? It's funny, I'm using a Mac, but I'm not using Premiere, and I'm using Final Cut Pro 10. Man, I'm hooked on Final Cut Pro 10. Now I do use Adobe Creative Cloud, but the only two Adobe products that I use Adobe Lightroom CC, and then I use Adobe Spark, which is a thumbnail. I use it for thumbnails, Adobe Spark. Hippie Drone says 2019 and 2020 have issues, but 2018 doesn't. Brent says you would need an 8K television. Not sure we would see a difference for 4K. Yeah, Brent, you're exactly right. To see the 8K, you would need an 8K television or 8K monitor. I don't even know if they have an 8K monitor yet, but they do have 8K TVs. My problem, and I'll probably be posting the video tomorrow, but I went in the field and did the hyperlapse, and I didn't change the settings. I guess my assumption is that it would have been in 8K. Maybe mine is in 8K. If it is in 8K, it looks like, it looks like junk. I hate to say it. So... the Hippie Drone says Premiere is the only one that does it properly, apparently. Now, so Hippie Drone, this is my newness with hyperlapse, because again, I used hyperlapse for the first time today. When I did hyperlapse, after it captured the hyperlapse with the Mavic Air 2, it created a video on the Mavic Air 2's micro SD card. So when I imported all my videos from the field today, those hyperlapses were downloaded just like a video. So when you're doing your hyperlapse, are you downloading a video from your drone, from your Mavic Air 2, or are you downloading individual images from your Mavic Air 2? We may be using a different workflow, and that may be why my hyperlapse was underwhelming, because I just got whatever was processed by the drone. It's funny, yeah, Adobe Premiere seems to be, in certain areas, Adobe Premiere seems to have a leg up on Final Cut Pro 10. Brent says, look at properties of the file, it'll tell you. Yeah, Brent, when I looked at the properties, and again, the file that I looked at was the video file that I imported into Final Cut Pro 10. It was saying it was 1080. It was saying it was 1080p. Actually, I've got my SSD card on my other desk over there. Otherwise, I'd pop it in. But yeah, I've got to adjust the settings apparently. And again, everybody just tuning in, I apologize for the video quality tonight. I've only got one light. I've got my other Godox. They're called Godox. It sounds really crazy. But I've got these other Godox lights coming, and I'll have the studio just perfectly nailed with the lighting. But yeah, right now I'm just one, and that's why I don't have the chroma key, the green screen going right now. But yeah, Brent, I appreciate it. Look at the properties of the file; it will tell you. Yeah, it's so Brent, do you use the hyperlapse feature, and if so, do you find that it's better than just using, say, continuous 4K 30 HDR or continuous 4K 60 video? Is there a situation where you would use hyperlapse instead of just continuous video? Man, let's see here. I'm super excited. I know it sounds stupid, and you know, Apple's one of those things people either love or hate. I personally, Apple they charge too much, but honestly, man, I am super pumped. I cannot wait to see what Apple's going to release, or unveil rather, during their WWDC, their Worldwide Developers Conference, which is a completely virtual conference this year. You know, normally they do it at Apple's headquarters, and they do it in the studio, the Steve Jobs Theater there. And but yeah, tomorrow is going to be probably the first 100% virtual Apple WWDC. Brent says not really. That's good to hear, man. I doubt I'll use it. I mean, I'm going to test it again just to have a thorough test for everyone. But But it's, I mean, I was deeply disappointed by what I achieved from hyperlapse today. The Hippie Drone says, I can only see it on Premiere. Cannot find anything else that will allow me to view it at all. Interesting. So Hippie Drone, just to kind of give you the series of steps that I performed. So I flew the flight, I went into hyperlapse, I selected the hyperlapse mode, I did the circle, and then I did the, whatever the other one was that didn't have a direction. There was waypoint circle and then something else, the one that didn't really have anything defined. And after I did each of those flight modes, you know, it would count up to however many, I guess, still photos it was taking. And then after that concluded, it would say something along the lines of processing or creating clip or whatever. So that's what happened in the field when I was doing hyperlapse and DJI Fly app with the Mavic Air 2. When I returned to the studio, I popped a little side door on my Mavic Air 2 where the USB-C port is. I plugged in the USB-C cable. I plugged the other end of the USB-C cable into my Mac, into my MacBook Pro. And then I fired up Final Cut Pro 10, and then I turned on the Mavic Air 2. And after I turned on the Mavic Air 2, Final Cut Pro 10 popped up and said import videos. Of those videos, because I did multiple flights today, of those videos, the hyperlapse were in video file format. But when I imported them into Final Cut Pro 10, they were appearing as 1080p video clips. So it was definitely not, it was not 8K. Yeah, Brent says, yeah, Hippie, even 6K is tough to process. Yeah, it's one of those deals, I think, I mean, unless you're like a mega video production studio running RED cameras, RED cameras, or really high-end stuff, for your average YouTuber, or even your top-tier YouTubers, I think today, you know, 2020, early 2020, I think that 4K is about the sweet spot because, yeah, Brent made a very good point. He said, great for cropping in, though, has a lot more detail. Yeah, so I mean, if you're filming in 6K or 8K, and then you're cropping to publish in 4K or a lesser resolution, that's great because you're getting virtual zoom of sorts. You know, you're able to, since it was filmed natively in a larger canvas, you're able to crop and not lose quality if you're publishing in a lesser resolution. So that's a super. Now the flip side of that too is that if you're using if these are videos that you're going to retain for the long haul, and something I've always done is, as far as best practice is concerned, when I'm doing little green screen clips and this, that, and the other, and drone field tests, you know, a lot of that stuff I don't retain for the long haul. I'll edit the video. I'll, you know, maybe make a few different takes of whatever video. And then after I publish it, I'll often delete the raw video because it's not of huge value for me. Now, when I go to destinations, you know, the Caribbean and this, that, and the other, and when I'm capturing content that's in a very cool environment, that's the type of content that I'm going to retain for the long haul. And with the cost of storage, you know, if you're filming in 4K or 1080 or whatever, those files aren't tremendously large. Now 4K 60 is considerably larger file size than 4K 30 or 4K 20, you know, 24 frames per second. So, you know, that's something to take into consideration. But when you're dealing with 6K and 8K, I mean, you're getting, if it's something you plan to retain for the long haul, you know, you probably need to factor in the disk space because, see, in my studio right now, I've only got 14 terabytes, which 14 terabytes is a lot, but for 4K video, when you're retaining, you know, several years worth of 4K footage, it can eat it up pretty quickly. I think right now, I've got about 4 terabytes remaining. So I've got about 10 terabytes of 4K video, and that's, you know, that's the stuff that I'm not going to delete. It's my high quality, top tier stuff that, you know, I incurred a huge travel expense to go and film. You know, it's stuff that I'm not just going to delete. Just the simple stuff with the little product reviews and this, that, and the other. I can't justify saving those files, even though they're only 4K video. I can't justify saving those files for the long haul just because it's an expense. I mean, storage is money, man, and there's so many things that's what makes this hobby so cool. You know, you gotta factor in all of this stuff because, you know, I'm the guy that likes to check the coupon codes every day, and that dictates where I go to eat. That's the kind of dude I am. So, you know, I like a discount, but I like high quality. So, let's see here. We got... I tell you, the best thing I've done on this channel recently, the Hippie Drone says NAS, which is network attached storage, drives are not cheap. They're definitely not. And you know what's funny about a NAS, and this is the nasty thing about NAS, I use a cloud backup service for all my videos, and it's backblaze.com. Dude, I love that service. The disadvantage to backblaze.com is if you have a NAS, network attached storage, you're going to have to get like a premium plan with them. Whereas with me, I use USB. As long as I connect, and hopefully this won't change, but if it, you know, I mean, obviously anything's subject to change. But as long as I connect my Mac to that USB drive once every 30 days, it's going to keep all the contents of that USB drive backed up on Backblaze. So I've got a cloud backup, and I've actually had to use it once. I did have, and I wasn't using RAID, which is redundant array of inexpensive disk. I was using a concatenated or spanning disk set, meaning that I had multiple drives in an enclosure, and if any of those drives became degraded, I could potentially lose all the data. So basically what happened is that I had multiple library files, which library is what Final Cut Pro 10 uses. It's basically a zip file of sorts, if you think of it that way. So I had multiple library files of Final Cut Pro 10 on that concatenated disk set, which was comprised of multiple physical disks. Well, one of those physical disks became degraded. Now, how I was able to only lose one of the libraries is, I mean, it was good luck. But basically what happened, one of those libraries became corrupt because of degraded disk in the concatenated disk set. But because I was using Backblaze, I was able to download that entire library and have all my data. So Backblaze paid for itself in that one instance. And a lot of people say, well, I don't need backup, you know, I've got, you know, whatever. But if you lose data, you can probably never get it back unless you've got a backup. So that to me was proof of value in using Backblaze. But I wish that Backblaze would work with a NAS, a network attached storage, which it can for the higher tier plans, but the affordable plan like I use, I'm stuck with using USB. So I've got a 14 terabyte USB, which is fine for today, but my fear is that as video goes beyond 4K, you know, what if video quality outpaces, you know, hard drive, larger capacity affordability? So, you know, if we get to where 8K is a norm, but you know, we don't have anything larger than, say, a 16 terabyte hard drive, you know, that's going to create a financial challenge for video creators that want to retain, you know, some of their higher end content. So it's, I don't know. I mean, what I've got now works, and I'm just ready for SSD to become, solid state disc to become super large and affordable. That's going to be so much better, because when you have that versus a spinning disc, I think the reliability over the long haul of an SSD is probably a lot better, because you don't have the mechanical components. You know, and anything mechanical is you know, more prone to fail. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just, there's so many things that come into this, you know, that someone that's a content creator, video content creator, has to take into should rather take into consideration if you want to run a lean operation, which obviously I do want to run a lean operation because I'm an independent YouTube channel. So there's a lot of things that, you know, you need to take into consideration before you jump to a greater video quality. You know, before you make that investment in the newer equipment, you need to make sure that you've got the, you know, the infrastructure on the back end. Have you seen the 8 terabyte M2 drive? I have not. Let me check that out right now. Let's see, I'm looking that up. Oh yeah, that's the NVMe. I've seen it. I didn't realize that's what it was. Yeah, that's well, hopefully, you know, hopefully these SSDs will go down in price here soon, because that's, I mean, that's definitely where it's at. I've got that silly 14 terabyte. I think it's either Seagate or Western Digital. I'd have to look. But my thing is, I do, because on my MacBook Pro, I've got 1 terabyte internal SSD, and then I've got an affordable 512 SSD external that I use as a scratch disk. And then for my long-term storage of all my Final Cut Pro 10 libraries, I use that 14 terabyte traditional, I think it's a 7200 RPM SATA serial ATA drive. So, but it's all backed up to Backblaze, which is, you know, having that cloud backup's important, because if you've had to retrieve a file at least once, that cloud backup has proven to be worth the, you know, the continued subscription fee. But yeah, I wish they'd let you use NAS drives, and there's some people that said they've hacked around it, but then there's people that said it didn't work. I mean, obviously you can't just map, you know, it seemed to be simple just to map a NAS, you know, UNC path as a drive letter in the Windows world, and, you know, and have Backblaze back it up, but apparently that doesn't work. So yeah, I'm stuck to, if I want to continue to use my affordable Backblaze backup, I'm stuck with keeping local USB storage attached. But I really wanted the NAS, because with the NAS, what I could do, if I'm working with multiple Macs, I mean, right now I'm just running the MacBook Pro, but when the WWDC hits tomorrow, I have a feeling that I'll probably be ordering an iMac, because I think they're coming out with a really new awesome iMac. So if that happens as expected, what I want to do is get that iMac, make that my studio primary, and then, you know, use my my MacBook Pro i9 as my in the field and live streaming computer. Well, everyone, we're in Hippie Drone. I really appreciate it, man. And good luck with your speakers. And thanks for those tips on the speakers, man. That gives me something to, you know, to look forward to for a future upgrade for the studio for audio. And keep in touch, man. We'll be doing another live show soon. But I'm going to go ahead and close this one out. We're over. Let's see, how deep into this are we? Oh, we're over an hour, man. Have a good evening. Be safe. And again, thanks for everything. It was a fun show. Have a good one. Hey y'all, IrixGuy here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. It's viewers like you that enable my channel to continue to grow. Thank you.